Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Ad Project Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joe Shellerud, and today I am joined by Matt Wickland. And Matt, how is your day going today?
Doing great. Yeah. In the new office, new digs. If you're watching on video, I'm kind of hard to see probably. I've got a camouflage shirt on, blending in with the background.
Yeah, it is true.
Yeah. Life is good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah. So for those following along, we just moved into the new office this week. So getting everything unpacked and trying to get situated gives us a lot more room and kind of a nice, clean workspace. So really excited for it.
Me too.
Yeah. So today for the podcast, key things that we wanted to touch on is what's some of the major trade-offs that we see within advertising. So, sometimes when we'll sign a new client or when we're talking to new potential clients, they come to us and they say, all right, I want to quadruple advertising sales and I want to cut my ACoS in half. Or I really want to expand sales, but I had to cut back my spend. And like everything in life, there's a lot of trade-offs that we had to take into account. So we had to start to prioritize different items with our advertising. And so that's really what we wanted to focus on today with the podcast, is really talk through some of these key trade-offs that we see. All right, if you're going for one strategy, how does that kind of compare or counteract? What are the key KPIs you should be looking at, and what else could that impact? So that's one of the key things, because we continually have a lot of conversations around these pieces. So just so you're aware, if we're going to go for an aggressive sales expansion strategy, these are the other things that can happen. So maybe we could just start walking through different strategies or trade-offs, or we could get into kind of the fundamentals. I don't know. How do you think is best to take this, Matt?
I like to start with the fundamentals when talking through this. It's kind of challenging because it gets a little bit mathy. Sure. I like to have equations to show to help kind of quantify the trade-offs and stuff like that, like the inherent sales versus ACoS trade-off. That kind of is the foundation of all the other trade-offs, right?
Sure.
So let's start there.
All right. You start there.
You want me to start there? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You're the fundamentals guy.
All right. So there are two major KPIs or two overarching objectives that most brands have when they're looking at their Amazon business, and or their business as a whole. That's either driving more sales or improving their efficiency, which is really measured by ACoS or ROAS.
Sure.
So both sales and ACoS are fundamentally influenced by three major metrics each, mathematically linked. So sales, you have traffic, conversion rate, and your average order value, which is basically your price point and, accounting for any multi-unit orders.
Yep.
Maybe we just consider it price for the sake of this conversation.
Yep.
Traffic, conversion rate, price.
Yep. And you can even break traffic down a little bit more to impressions times click-through rate equals traffic. So essentially people who are viewing your product on the product detail page.
Yep. And then for ACoS, your efficiency metric, you have cost per click, conversion rate, or the inverse of conversion rate. If you're looking at the equation and stuff, it's easier to look at 1 over conversion rate. Sure. Clicks between orders, and price points or AOV.
Yep.
So for both of those metrics, sales and ACoS, and each of their three variables that mathematically, calculate them, they have two common variables: conversion rate and AOV or price.
Average order value.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll just say price.
Sure.
So conversion and price are both common between the two. Conversion rate increases, sales increase, ACoS improves, decreases. Price increases, sales improves, ACoS improves. So the key independent variables between the two, or variables that differ, are traffic and cost per click.
Sure.
You want to take it from here?
Yeah. I mean, so overall, if we're talking about total sales, it's traffic, which is the independent variable that doesn't fall into your ACoS target. And in our ACoS calculation, it's cost per click. And so this is the common point where you have a little tug of war between the two. So if we want to increase traffic, what we need to do is typically we need to bid on more keywords, maybe get a little bit more general with those keywords. Or, if we don't even add extra targets, we'll just start with bids. Maybe we'll just start there. All right. So I want to increase traffic. I have to increase my bids. So what's that do? Well, it increases my cost per click, which negatively impacts my ACoS. And so fundamentally right there, that's our key trade-off. So if I want to increase traffic, I want more people to see my ads, I need to bid more. My cost per click goes up. So while total sales could increase because I just increased my traffic now that I'm bidding more aggressively, my ACoS gets worse. And the reason is that I'm having to pay more on a cost per click basis. So that's one key variable in the trade-off between the two. Another way that we could expand sales is getting more general or targeting more targets, so more keywords. So what this does is once we get out of our core keywords and we try to get maybe a little bit broader, what that can impact is conversion rate. And so conversion rate could actually decrease in both cases. We could increase overall traffic. So maybe the traffic increase offsets that little bit of a conversion rate decrease that you see because we expanded and we got broader and a little bit more general for our targeting. But what's going to happen there is our ACoS is going to get worse. And the key reason is in that instance, because conversion rate went down because we had to get a little bit more general with our targeting and we couldn't get as specific. And so, I think these two examples kind of highlight some of the key trade-offs when we're looking at a sales expansion strategy versus trying to make sure that we're getting the best margin that we can for our advertising as a whole. So that kind of finish up the fundamentals.
Yeah, totally. And I don't want to totally bore our audience with the math piece and stuff like that. But there are other pieces too that tie into the three overarching metrics for both, namely the impact price has on conversion rate too, right? So you increase your price. Oh, that means more revenue per order should help sales, right? Or more revenue per order should help ACoS, right? Per click and the price that you pay for that click.
Sure.
No, because conversion rate and price are inversely related. So you increase your price, conversion rate's going to decrease in a lot of cases. Not every single instance. It depends on the competitive landscape and stuff like that. But as a general rule of thumb, price and conversion rate are inversely related. And so it depends on how audiences react to price increases.
Sure.
If it affects conversion rate proportionately more than the price increase, you're going to see unfavorable sales and unfavorable ACoS.
Sure.
So there are a lot of relationships between the two equations and then within each equation too.
Yep.
Just all ties into the broader trade-off conversation.
It does. And a lot of pieces that we look at end up influencing conversion rate. So the probability that somebody's going to purchase after clicking on our ad, if we're talking about advertising conversion rate. And so Matt has a great point on pricing. So if your price goes up, that's great from a pricing or an average order value standpoint. But if conversion rate goes down more, then it can offset itself too. And so that's one of the other key trade-offs too. We're offsetting and we're improving one area, which would be the average order value, but we could be decreasing the other area. And for some of these changes, it's really hard to forecast how they're truly going to impact the metrics until you do testing. And so this is one key reason why we love to test different strategies and we're constantly making moves with the parameters. We're not changing price for our clients, but as they change prices, now we're looking at how that impacts, conversion rates overall and how that cascades to our advertising metrics. So we can really see those trade-offs overall.
Yeah. Yeah. And so tying this back into the episode lead in, oftentimes sellers want conflicting objectives. I want to drive more sales and improve ACoS concurrently. That can be challenging in cases of well-optimized campaigns.
Sure.
So that's the caveat to the whole math-based, metric-based sales ACoS equation, right? Mm-hmm. Is it's assuming that your campaigns are very well optimized around an efficiency target.
Yep.
So there are circumstances where you can drive more sales and improve ACoS potentially.
Sure.
And that's more so key areas that you're missing out, gaps in your optimization. You don't have fully optimized campaigns.
Yep. Yeah. Because when we're taking on new clients, before we sign anybody, we're always doing an account review. And what we want to look at is, are there opportunities that are available within these fundamentals? So for instance, are there a ton of keywords that need to be negated because their performance it's just wasting spend? Are items like placement adjustments being utilized? Are we boosting up bids for top of search for sponsor products? Are we cross-sharing different targeting, so product targets between the different ad types? Are we utilizing all the different ad types? For instance, if we're not utilizing, say, sponsor brands or sponsor display, we can come in and, we can expand sales really quickly because we can just use product targeting from sponsor products, and then we can add our own based off of the different ad types. And it's another way that you can generate sales through just adding new ads. And so, what we're constantly looking at when we're signing a new client or we're doing an account review is, what are the fundamental areas of opportunity that aren't being utilized right now? That's really what we're here to do. It's making sure we're taking advantage of every single feature that's available to get every single advantage that we can. At that point, once it's well optimized, now it's these trade-offs that come into play. So we're utilizing all the different features. We're utilizing placement adjustments. We've got solid bids. We have a good campaign funnel structure. The campaigns are structured really well overall. We're cross-sharing between different ad types, all that good stuff. Once we've got that, now we can start talking through the trade-offs as we go. And so that's where we can there's many accounts that we take on and we expand sales and we can improve ACoS at the exact same time just because there's a lot of fundamentals that aren't being utilized when they come on.
Yeah. Just incremental opportunities where you can drive more traffic at either a better CPC or a better conversion rate, basically. So long tail keywords, new ad types, that are potentially more efficient that you're not utilizing right now.
Sure.
Or top of search placement settings, which typically produce a better conversion rate at a higher CPC, but not to the extent that conversion rate improves by.
Sure.
So things like that are incremental opportunities where you can have your cake and eat it too. But once you get to that optimized point, it becomes a decision. Do I want to drive more sales? Or do I want to improve my campaign efficiency?
Yep. And so for some other items to talk through and go through trade-offs, let's factor in ACoS and how that comes into play. So let's say that we really want to drive more sales through our advertising, but we also want to make sure that we're improving our ACoS. So just walk through how those tie together or can conflict.
Yeah, sure. This was a bit of a curveball. I didn't think you'd take it there. But it's a good piece. So ACoS is a great budget metric. Basically, it's taking a percentage. It's a good budget metric for a mature account and, not a brand new product that you're just launching, which has 0 total sales. So it's calculated by total sales times your ACoS percentage. So as you go through seasonal waves and total sales increase, decrease, it's a way to benchmark and keep your ad spend consistent so your bottom line isn't affected by the level of advertising investment.
Sure.
So ACoS is a great budget metric for more mature products, but it's not a great efficiency metric, right? So you can allocate, say, 10% of your total sales to advertising, and that, maybe if you've got a $10,000 advertising budget, that $10,000 maybe doesn't drive a single advertising sale.
Sure.
It's going to completely irrelevant keywords, completely irrelevant search terms. you're still hitting your 10% tacos, or maybe you come in a little bit under budget, 9% tacos.
Sure.
That doesn't really mean anything, right? The efficiency could be absolutely terrible.
Yep.
I'm not entirely sure if I'm framing that up the way you intended. What's your perspective on it?
Yeah. So there's a couple different items to consider when you're looking at tacos and how it impacts other things. So one, if we took a strategy and we said, okay, we want to grow sales with our advertising. One of the key ways, if we're already well optimized, is to expand our targets that we're looking at or get more aggressive on bids. So what that hits is it's going to increase overall spend. And we may not see organic sales respond accordingly right away. And so what we could see is, advertising sales goes up, which is awesome. That helps improve tacos. But our advertising spend is also going to go up, and proportionately probably going to go up more. And so if we're trying to drive sales overall, just know that in the short term, it's going to probably increase advertising spend, which is negatively going to impact our tacos. Then over time, hopefully we can continue to grow our organic sales, which offsets that as we go. So, tacos is a great metric long term to look at, to try to hit. But in the short term, when you're making these different moves, realize that it may have to change based off of the other strategies that you implement. And then the other piece that Matt emphasized is that tacos is not a great efficiency metric. So, it's a great way to make sure you're allocating a certain margin of your overall sales to advertising. But like in a case where we're spending $10,000 a month, we could be wasting that $10,000 by not targeting the right items or not using the right ad types or features or whatever. We could be doing a horrible job on advertising, but hitting that tacos metric. In that instance, you'd see ACoS be really poor. So that's why we love like tacos. Tacos is a great budgeting metric. But we also like to really dig into the efficiency metrics, which is ACoS, or the inverse of ACoS, which is ROAS, to really figure out, all right, what are we getting in good, efficient use out of our advertising overall?
Totally.
Yeah. So how about another trade-off? So we've been talking about trying to maximize ACoS. Minimize ACoS. We want to improve ACoS overall, or maximize ROAS. And we want to drive more sales. What if we say, all right, I'm advertising for my brand. I feel like people are just going to go through and they're going to buy from me anyway if they're searching for my brand. Walk me through, if we get rid of a branded strategy, how that impacts overall metrics and how we view that.
Sure. Yeah. So brand defense, one of the trade-offs of brand defense is potentially organic cannibalization. Somebody's searching for your brand, and chances are you're positioned in the top placements organically, and there's a chance that the person would otherwise find it organically. So the trade-off of that advertising spend going to brand defense is you're paying for conversions that you might have got for free.
Sure.
However, the flip side to that is if you yield those ad placements to your competitors, they will steal some market share, and that can vary quite a bit from brand to brand, category to category. But it will yield market share to your competitors, and you'll miss out on lifetime value if it's a consumable product, or just miss out on that immediate conversion.
Sure.
Typically, the ACoS is quite low, very favorable for brand defense. And if it's not, it means that like people are aggressively targeting you, pushing up those market level CPCs, and they think they have a viable business case for stealing your customers away and moving them over to your brand.
Sure.
So yeah, brand defense. We've covered this in previous episodes. It's really important for the majority of brands and majority of categories on Amazon. But the trade-off is that potential organic cannibalization.
Yep. Yeah. And one other thing to keep in mind for the advertising metrics as a whole. So say we wanted to stop doing brand defense strategies. They're typically going to be pretty low ACoS, because if somebody searches for your brand, the probability that they actually purchase from you is a lot higher than if they're just searching for more general terms. The trade-off is that you could be paying for clicks that you don't need to pay for because they would have bought from you already. But what happens with the overall advertising metrics? So say if we stop running brand defense, and we allocate that budget elsewhere, say to more general terms, our ACoS overall is going to increase. Because our conversion rate just went down. We just took out some of these really good converting keywords, your brand, and now we're targeting more general keywords that are not going to convert as well. And so that's another thing to keep in mind, is that while we can focus on just on total sales and just on ACoS, there's other factors at play. Because with like branded search, there could be some people who are going to purchase from you anyway. If you run branded search, you get those clicks. It can look great from an advertising metric standpoint. But if they were going to purchase from you anyway, it's kind of wasted dollars in a way. So another thing to keep in mind, like say if you're switching from a strategy where you're you're really defending your brand, to saying, let's test and let's not defend as hard and see if sales drop. Just know that your advertising metrics aren't going to look as good after you make that move. But overall, in terms of your business, now maybe you're generating some extra sales you wouldn't have got by targeting more of those general terms. And so it's another trade-off, and it makes it a little bit more complicated when you look at bigger picture for advertising. These metrics and KPIs are great, but at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is, with our advertising, we're trying to get people to buy who wouldn't have bought unless they saw your ads. For branded search, some people are probably already going to buy. For more general terms, maybe you can get some more sales. And so those are other items to trial. Just know that if you look strictly at the advertising metrics, it could look like a negative move, but overall it may be a positive move for your account too.
Yeah. Not to mention the organic ranking benefits of those category or more general and branded keywords.
Sure.
Like you're driving more order velocity to those terms. It's going to improve your organic position and feed the flywheel.
Yeah. So, I mean, just in summary for this podcast, like I know this was a little bit more dense and very math based, but key trade-offs we have when we're looking at total advertising sales versus ACoS. So total sales versus our efficiency is going to be that traffic versus cost per click. And so if we want to get more aggressive with traffic, then what we do is we really expand. We expand our bids, which drives up cost per click, and it can negatively impact our ACoS. So just know that when you're shifting between these different strategies, if you really want to drive a lot more traffic and get aggressive, you may have to increase your ACoS overall. And just know, again, circling back, that when we're going through these trade-offs, this assumes that your campaigns are already well optimized and you're using all the different items that you have available. So if you have low-hanging fruit, like don't even worry about these. Just first focus on cleaning up the account and making sure you've got the fundamentals right. And then at that point, now you can really start to focus on the trade-offs and dial in between total sales and ACoS. What's the sweet spot to be for your account to get the overall best benefit? So, Matt, I guess any other items you want to add or any pieces that I missed?
I think that's it.
All right. So, well, this has been another episode of the Ad Project podcast. One thing I'll throw in like at the very end is that if you want an external review to just see, are you utilizing all the fundamentals right? We do have a free campaign review tool on our website. You can go to adadvance.com, go to resources, and there's a free campaign review. And you can sign up for this tool. It sends you a report each month, and it's really going to go through all those key fundamentals that you have and outline if there's any features that you're not taking advantage of. So it can help you walk through, like, again, that's the low-hanging fruit. Make sure that your account is well optimized first, and then we can look at these trade-offs. So if you're ever looking for another resource course, advance.com, awesome spot, totally free. And, just a report that we've generated based off of our internal needs that we wanted to share with everybody. So feel free to check it out. And as always, thank you for listening to the Ad Project Podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode.